What's happening, everybody? This is the Pensive Brothers podcast. This is Aaron.
This is Elliot.
I'm going to keep it real with you. I hope everybody's having a fantastical day out there.
Y'all knew he was going to say it. Fantastical.
I almost said, this is Elliot. I'm not kidding.
I'm glad you didn't do that. You're going to confuse the people.
You're going to sue me for defamation. But anyway.
I would never.
I hope everybody out there is doing good. Good. It's a beautiful day outside.
That's right.
I am enjoying the fact that it's starting to slowly cool off.
I mean, we didn't get murdered by a hurricane up here, so.
Yeah, and we also haven't had 7 days straight of 100+ degree weather, which is great.
You mean this week?
Yeah. So that's telling me that the summer is slowly winding on down. I will miss the daylight savings time of the summer. That's like the best, but
you're gonna miss it because there's no more daylight savings time, or you're gonna miss it because you like having sunlight extra.
Well, there is still going to be daylight savings time.
I thought they were done with that.
No. The Senate passed the bill. The House did not. Nancy Pelosi didn't vote on it. They blocked it. And
so wait. There was all that to do, and we're still going to have daylight savings time moving forward?
Yes.
How?
Call your congressperson and tell them to bring their vote back up, and they should vote on it.
Actually, real talk, just on a quick segue, we're just going to hop off on that off-ramp. I task anybody listening to this to write letters to your congressperson about something you care about. Whether that be UFO, UAP stuff, whether that be, food stamp distribution in your state, whether that be, healthcare, Medicaid, Medicare, or anything else. Whatever you care about, whatever's annoying you.
The cleanliness of your water.
Yeah, write a letter.
Write a letter. Call them and say, hey.
No. Write a letter. Post-date it. Use a stamp. Write a letter. Because it was brought up in a video. Ross Coulthart, shout out to him, kind of made a point of, hey, a lot of times the annoyance of receiving a letter in the mail at an institution will actually make them stand up and pay attention a lot more than a phone call or a text message or an email, because those things are digital. Just there's something about the fact that it's digital that allows people to just ignore,
disregard
your problems. But when you put it on a physical piece of paper and you send it to someone, and now they have a physical representation of your frustration with the lack of movement on whatever your issue is, it just tends to engender a different kind of response. So, tidbit of the day, send a letter to your congressman. It's probably important. Anyway, back to where we were going.
Yeah, so I actually like that. Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah, we should.
We should start writing letters.
We're going to make a point to do it next week.
Okay, perfect. So, this is what I kind of want to talk about.
All right.
So, this week, as you probably all know, Labor Day.
That's right, coming up.
Labor Day Classic, Norfolk State versus Virginia State football game.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. That is coming up.
So, it's a big deal. Well, no, it just happened yesterday.
Right.
It's a big deal here in Virginia. Two relatively popular HBCUs in the region, Virginia State University, my alma mater, Norfolk State University, which is a local college near here. Mm-hmm. They have usually it's a big battle of the bands. They didn't have one this year, but usually it's a big battle of the bands between the two bands at the schools. Then they'll have a big football game, a big unity thing, and sometimes they'll have a parade or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I thought it fitting for us to discuss specifically the HBCU experience versus the PWI experience.
Oh, yeah, because I went to a PWI. I went to Virginia Commonwealth, and he went to VSU, Virginia State.
Yes.
And our experiences were a little different.
Very much so. And, especially for me, I attended a PWI for my master's program, but obviously I wasn't living on campus. I didn't play sports or get in the band or anything like that. So I wanted you to give me like your little 2 or 3 minute synopsis, just what it's like, one, being a black person going to a PWI, but what your experience was like there in general.
So here's some things that I ran into immediately when I got to Virginia, to VCU. So one of the things, and you'll probably hear a lot of people who have gone to PWIs talk about this, but you're almost guaranteed to experience one racially insensitive white person saying something that is not even ambiguously racist, but explicitly and extremely racist, almost as like a dare to see if you're going to call him on it. And of course I said, hey, yo, that's not cool. And he was like, oh, my bad. And that was kind of the extent of that conversation, because I'm just not, I'm not a confrontational person by nature. It's just not how I get down. I'm a water guy, not an earth guy. So, I'm just going to floor around the problem and keep it moving. Mm-hmm. But I just don't think that's something I expected to have to address. I think this was like 3 months in, and somebody was just yelling the N-word in his dorm room. Now, he was playing Call of Duty, and he was like, "Oh man, I didn't mean nothing by it." But
This is a white guy?
yes,
Yelling the N-word?
yes,
Not
like
in
I
your
can hear him
dorm
from
room.
the hallway.
Okay.
Like I'm in a dorm room over here. He's across the hall in his dorm room, and I can hear him across the hall. So of course I'm like, "Bro, what is going on here? What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, my bad. You know, I was just getting excited." I'm like, "Bro, you got to
That's not excitement.
That's not it."
Like, I get excited all the time.
And surprisingly, that's never happened to me. I wonder what's wrong with you. So
Who just shouts out the N-word just because they're excited? Who does that? Do we?
people.
I don't know anyone that does that.
Okay, but you also don't know people who think it's funny. Actually, you probably do because we do it. To be casually racist, where it's gonna make other people uncomfortable, we don't do that part. Like, sometimes racism is funny because we both know we're not racist. The joke is,
Yeah.
neither of us is racist, so we say something that can be interpreted as racist because we both know that we're
It
not
does
racist.
make, because it makes people uncomfortable, right? I got a good example of that. When I was in college, I had a work study my freshman year, and the work study guy that was in charge or whatever, I don't remember his name, but he's a white guy, older. He's probably about 60 years old, and he was a really nice guy, like genuinely. And he said something. He asked me something, and I asked him, okay, well, can I have that, or can I do that, or whatever it is,
Right.
And he's just like, no, you can't, or no, you can't have it, or whatever. And I was like, why? Because I'm black. And then everyone, because obviously all the students were black for the most part. Yeah, all the students in there were black.
Right.
And so we all busted out laughing. And, like, he turned so red. Like, so red. And I was like, oh, I'm just kidding. He's like, oh, it's fine. I was
Because
but that is the joke, right?
Okay, so, and you got to be careful because, sometimes when I hear comedians, like famous comedians, talk about like their relationship with comedy and kind of the underlying art to it, right? They talk about how a lot of comedy is about the tension between like what's being said and kind of the, ooh, that's naughty, you shouldn't say that, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at comedians like Richard Pryor and what's the other guy's name who
Eddie Murphy?
No, not Eddie Murphy, though he's another one. No, the white guy, slick back hair, started like here. He was that same Richard Pryor time frame. He was really known for just basically saying stuff that was just like aggressive, but also very true.
George Carlin?
Yes, thank you, George Carlin.
Yeah.
So, like, a lot of their comedy, to me, was in that vein. It wasn't necessarily
pushing the bounds of race.
Yes, because it wasn't even necessarily that it was like untrue or even like unexpected. It's not like there was a joke and then a punchline. It was more like they would say things that you're just not supposed to say, and there's a tension between everybody kind of knowing that what they're saying is explicitly true and the fact that, hey, they're saying it and you're not really supposed to.
And no one else has like the balls to say it.
Exactly.
And then they also, the other half is they say it in a funny way.
Yeah,
right?
And they couch it in a story, or they say it in a way that kind of like punches you a little bit, because that's really where the joke is. It's not just that they're saying things, because I think that's where some comedians get wrong. You ever watch somebody who gets up, I won't say no names because I don't want to make nobody mad, but there are a lot of white female comedians who I've seen do this particular brand of comedy, and I don't care for it personally. So they get up and basically they just spend like 20 minutes just kind of doing a PSA where they say, oh, well, these things are wrong and you shouldn't do that, and they kind of woke scold for 20 minutes, but there's not really a joke in there. It's just kind of them saying their bit. Like, it's such a delicate line between doing the woke skull, oh, you should know better, and the, hey, I'm going to say a thing that, you probably shouldn't say, but everybody kind of acknowledges that it's true. That's why when you say, why? Because I'm black, it's funny, because obviously,
it was hilarious.
Obviously, everybody
but
in there
before we get too off topic, tell us, anyway, anything else, like specifically your experience, things that you would tell someone.
That was a big one. You're just going to run into people who are just racially insensitive. I think it's really important that you run into that and you find good, productive ways of like getting around that don't leave you just holding the bag of being uncomfortable and having to deal with racism. But also, you're not out here making a scene every time you run into somebody.
My HBCU experience taught me a couple of things you could have done to deal with that.
Oh,
anyway, go ahead. So what else did you do?
And then there's also like, bro, everything is so expensive. It's actually crazy. The games, if I wasn't on the pep band, I could not afford to go to the basketball games because it was like $25, $30 a ticket. Now, to be fair, VCU students were supposed to get in free, but the problem is, like, there's a limited number of those you get in free because you're a VCU student type tickets. Mm-hmm. So a certain number of those tickets got to get sold. So they're not letting everybody in free. They kind of let a certain number of people get in, and then once
everybody got to buy.
Then people are buying tickets. And so there's that, like all the food on campus, all of the stuff to do that's like close around campus. There's an upcharge because you're right around a campus. So
what about like the food situation on campus? Like the caf, was the caf good, bad?
So I'll tell you one thing: it was not good, but it was efficient. So what I mean by that is, like, I'm never telling somebody, oh yeah, definitely go to Schaefer and like eat the food. It's the best food around. It's not. But like when you go, it's edible, and you probably don't have this is cafeteria food that's been sitting under a warmer all day type bubble guts. But it's not gonna be you get food poisoning, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because there's like a medium ground where like if I eat this food, I'm probably not gonna be happy about it, but like it's edible. If I'm hungry and like I got swipes,
well, I guess if that's the threshold, is this edible?
They have food all the time when I go. You're never gonna show up and there's no food. You're never gonna show up and they don't ran out of stuff.
I'm not even gonna lie. HBCUs, if they don't run out of stuff, you should question something.
So and to juxtapose, that wasn't a problem. So and in particular, VCU has a lot of options. So you got Schaefer. You also have I can't remember the name of the other place. But
old! You're old! He forgot.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, you're probably right. No, I just ain't been on campus in a while. But you got the one that's over by the medical campus, MCV or whatever it is. They have like a small cafeteria over there that you can eat at. And then you have all of these little restaurants all over the city that you can use your swipes at that you can also eat at. So you got lots and lots and lots and lots of options, which is cool.
Awesome, yeah.
That being said, you still gotta use your meal planning. Your meal plan is kind of expensive, but whatever. You have options, and that is, one of the benefits. So, like, those things were really cool. But I would say those are the biggest takeaways. You're gonna run into just people who are insensitive, and I think the other thing is you'll meet all kinds of not just white people, but I met Indians who are from India. I met people who are from like Pakistan and Bali and all these other places that I've never been and don't really have a huge interest in going, but I get to.
I don't know about Pakistan, but there's a lot of traveling I do expect to do.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
I don't know about Pakistan, though.
You get to meet people from places that you would never go. Pakistan is one of the ones that sticks out in my mind because, like, that ain't nowhere I'm never planning to go. But it's interesting to hear about those people's lives and, how they found themselves from there to here. And you get to kind of have conversations with these people about, their values and how their values intersect with, their American identity, whatever that may be, whether that's, their just traveling in, for school and then going back home, or if they're American citizens and they're dual citizen or whatever. So you get that kind of international experience, I think, a little more readily and a little more extreme when you're at a PWI, because a lot of them take a lot of international students. So those are the three big things: is the culture, exchange, let's call it, the expenses, and then just everything is kind of very factory made. It's very picturesque.
Gotcha.
It's very corporate.
Okay. Well, just to kind of talk about my experience,
yeah.
I attended the prestigious Virginia State University in Petersburg, Virginia. The things that I would say that I experienced there, the main thing is definitely the culture at an HBCU is just something that you're really not going to get outside of an HBCU.
Say more about that.
So, like, there is a level of love that the students have for each other and the school that, even a school like Nansemond that had a lot of school spirit, our high school had a lot of school spirit.
Yeah.
It's not the same. There's a certain level of pride and love you have for that institution, and all the students getting together. Like, I always, I tell people about, like, the first week when you go to college. I don't know if it was like this at VCU for you, but, like, you get to school, you're meeting all these new people. I remember meeting people on the elevator. And everybody's just so happy to be there. They're speaking to each other, like, hi. Like, you're meeting new people every day. Yeah. Everybody is just so excited. And then you go to these parties, you go to these fraternity events, and you go to these, like, probates. And
everybody was like, VSU?
Literally. And so you go to, am I saying that nobody argues, nobody fights? Of course.
Of course not, yeah.
But I'm gonna leave that part alone. But there is something to be said about HBCU culture, just because I feel like it's a black space that is one. It feels safe. It feels like you can be your authentic self. Yeah. You don't have to corporatize yourself. You don't have to societyize yourself to fit certain specific narratives.
You can just kind of come as you are. And
because it is an
experience as a member of the people they expect to be there.
Right, and then like. it doesn't mean that it's only black people at HBCUs, because it's not.
Of course not.
Like my line brother, obviously, I told you, is a white guy.
Right, yeah.
Right? But like what I really liked about it was the fact that I felt, I remember we used to go, every dorm room at Virginia State has these every dorm has lounges like on every floor.
Right.
So people would just go to the lounge and literally just sit there, and we would have these discussions, especially my later years in college, like my junior and senior year, where you have these discussions about black culture, black owned businesses,
right.
black entrepreneurship. And you talk to these people. I had a lot of people at Virginia State from Africa. Right. I had all these friends and all these acquaintances, all these classmates that were from all over the country and all over the world. And we'd sit and we'd have conversations. Like, me and my friends the other day had a conversation about black-owned businesses. We went out of town, and we went to a specific black restaurant, and the service was horrible.
Oh, no.
And we actually left. We left.
Like left before they served you?
Yes. Like so we went in, the person that's seating everyone is out front on the phone.
Oh no.
So okay, whatever.
You can live with that.
As soon as we walk up to her, she takes us inside and she seats us. Okay. She seats us, no server comes.
Oh no.
Then another group of white people comes in, they go sit over there, and they immediately get served. And we're just like,
wait a minute,
right.
wait a minute.
Yeah, and that was about, I would say about 20 to 25 minutes after we were seated. So we're like waiting, and then one of the people at the table with us was like, hey, can we at least get some water or something? Like, no one's come over.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, you guys are whoever's table. She said the name. I don't know the name. She said, you guys are whoever's table. And she's like, I'll be right back. So she walks away. Now we see her coming, over there somewhere, still walking through. So it's not like she got someone and brought them directly to the table. But like the conversation we were having about that was, here's a black business that we want to patronize.
And you can't even do it.
Right. Like literally, you're not allowing us to patronize your business because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And I'm not saying that all black businesses are like that. But like one thing that I liked about the HBCU that I attended is as a business major at the school, like that was one thing that they kind of preached against, is not being that
business.
Right? So because we always make excuses. We're always looking for hookups. Like you want to uphold a certain standard, so so that your customer base, like I was telling one of our younger sisters who's trying to do hair, right? Canceled an appointment. It's like, hey, you don't want to do that a lot because you don't want to have a culture. You don't want people to think every time they think, oh, I'm gonna get her to do my hair. Oh, she probably gonna cancel.
Yeah.
She probably gonna be late.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So an HBCU, I think, is a place that cultivates higher thinking amongst the black community to try to fight back against that type of thought process. That's just one thing, the culture. The next thing is definitely a lot of stuff is just not taken care of the way it's supposed to be. I'm sorry. I love my school. I love HBCUs. It's just not. I'm just keeping it a buck. Everyone out there, if you attended an HBCU, tell me the financial aid office didn't jack your stuff up at least one time.
Bruh.
Tell me you couldn't get somebody on the phone. Tell me you could call your HBCU and get somebody on the phone immediately every time.
Okay. That should not be ubiquitous, but I've heard that report. I know Eric has talked about it. I've heard it.
It's true. It's
Jackson State.
Dad has said it. Dad attended HBCU. Dad said the same thing.
He said the exact same thing. And to your point, like, I think that goes back to your point about black business. I do think it's interesting, right? Because there is there's this intersection when it comes to business where, like, a business is an entity that is trying to transcend, like, the personhood of the individuals that are running it, right? So that's a long-winded way.
It should be trying to do that.
Right. Well, you say it should be, but that's a long-winded way of saying that, like, every business ever is just a person or a group of people trying to operate as something other than a human being. So I'm trying to operate this entity that is going to provide you the things that I say it's going to provide you, or that it says it's going to provide you, regardless of what the people who are behind making that happen have going on. So if I'm a business and I'm making tables, like, when you order a table, you expect to get a table once you give me your money. It doesn't matter if, my wife dies. It doesn't matter if, I'm in a hospital. Like, you expect either to get your money back or to get a table. Like, the human element behind that stops mattering. And I do think that there is something to be said for, like, maybe black businesses' unwillingness to really go all in on the inhumanity of what business really can be, versus I think a lot of your
That's
much
actually
larger
true. I like that.
institutions, I think, are much more comfortable basically just turning off the part of their brain.
Yeah, they're detached
that
from
deals
empathy.
With humans in the business sector of business as like a human.
Right.
Like, you stop thinking about your employees as people and you start thinking about them as machines
Widgets and profit making
inside
widgets.
of the machine that is a business. And I think we all have to really examine like where we fall on one side of that line or the other, because I do think a lot of black businesses just fall too far on the human side of that line, where they try to make a lot of excuses. They might not even be excuses. They might be legitimate reasons, but you got to understand that when it comes to business, the whole reason that we're exchanging money for this service or for this, thing that I'm paying you for is because I don't want to have to think about all the things that go into this thing happening, or I would just do it myself. No, I'm paying you to deal with all of those things and to provide me the one thing that I actually need, which is a table or a service or dinner or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to care about the people that are in together to make that thing happen.
Exactly.
And I think there has to be a balance there. You can't go all the way other way, because that's how you get slaves. When you're like, no, we're running a business here, so we're just gonna own other human beings because that's what we need to make the business run. Like, nah, you probably way too far on the other side. There should be a happy medium there. That's why living wages and good working conditions and all those things are so important, because that's kind of where you hover over that median line of human meets business needs.
Yeah, and okay, so just to cap the last of this conversation off here. So I talked about the culture. I talked about the unfortunate business shortcomings of an HBCU.
What's the best part?
The best part is it's probably the social aspect of being at an HBCU, because this also kind of ties back into the culture.
Okay.
So if I can keep it real, I had a difficult time at the beginning of college. For me, my freshman year I was in the band. And HBCU bands are very, 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 very busy. Okay, you're at practice all day, all night. You're busy. You got to go on the road. You got a game. You got this. You got that. Practice ends. It's like midnight. It's late. It's late. Okay, and that was hard. I maintained my grades. I stayed in the band.
Everything else is
you got class. Stops. I feel bad for people that's in the band and trying to
I don't know how they do it if you're not a music major,
having children and all this other stuff like our parents. I don't know what they were doing, but no, like the social aspect, right? I was a good student, so my grades were fine. Okay, college is about class. So anyone out there who's watching this, public service announcement: go to class.
Be like him, don't be like me.
Yeah, well, yes.
Be like him, don't be like
me. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it. It makes me feel weird to agree with that, because it's almost like I'm being.
You feel weird because you don't want it to be the truth, but
I don't want to be a megalomaniac. I can be like, yeah, be like me. Like, that's weird.
No, that's why I can say it and you can't.
Yeah. Okay.
If you say it, it's the wrong.
Because saying don't be like you.
Okay.
Don't be like you in college, maybe.
Yes.
Okay.
If we want to be more specific. Be like him when it comes to your college degree getting experience. Don't be like me, okay?
And don't be like him when it comes to your grammar. Because I don't know what that's your college degree getting experience. What is that?
Yeah, your college degree receiving experience. Receive your college degree. Don't be like
like me when it comes to your college experience.
Yeah, if that gets you where you need to be, do what he
Well,
said.
if you say it the way that he's saying it, you're probably going to fail your English class. So...
Listen.
Anyway, let's stay focused here. What I'm trying to say is,
I don't know how to do that.
The social aspect of going to an HBCU, right?
Yeah.
So, I pledged a fraternity. Okay.
Yeah.
We are both a member of the same fraternity.
That's right.
Along with our father.
That's right.
But so I pledged a fraternity, and once I did so, I had some really strong bonds, not just with my line brothers, but with all the other fraternity brothers too.
That were at the school and out.
At the school, graduated from the school in the grad chapter in the area as well. And so what that did for me was, one, they really teach you a lot of stuff about manhood, about your career, about what you need to do next, about grad school. I learned a lot of that stuff from those guys. Two, it also gives you a new set of friends.
Yeah.
Right? So every weekend we were going to this party, that party. We were going to this event, that event, this school, that school. We went to a probate at Morgan State in Baltimore.
Yeah.
We went to a lot of schools. We went to Norfolk State, we went to Hampton, we went to Union. We went
all
over the place.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was cool because we would go to Hampton and go to their probate, but then they'd have a party. We go to Hampton, we link up with all their Sigmas, and now
Right.
we're at this big event, and it's 40 of us instead of 12 of us. You know what I mean? And so...
Right. And y'all are all there together.
Yeah, we're strolling together, we're meeting the Zetas there, we're meeting the other people, their friends there, the other fraternities
Did
there, et cetera, et cetera.
college change your relationship, like, with VCU as a college? Like, did you see the school differently once you were VCU and a Sigma?
You mean VSU?
Yeah, I'm sorry. What did I say?
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought because I was
VSU.
going to answer the question
No.
about BCU.
No.
But
VSU.
yeah, no. I would say being in the band helped develop my relationship with the school.
So you already have, like, a really heavy respect for the school.
Right, because, like, I don't know about everyone else's experience in the band, but my experience in the band director we had to sing the school song every practice in the beginning, and then play the school song
he was on
every
that.
practice at the end.
He was on that indoctrination stuff. So
Yeah,
by the time
because
you get out of the band, you're like, no, I rock with this school. I
Yeah.
even know the songs.
And he used to say stuff like he marched at Jackson State. Jackson State's
Uh-huh.
one of the biggest bands in the country. It's in
Yep.
Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi. And he used to tell us, like, how can you be in a band at your school and you don't even know the words to the school song?
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like, he used to say, love the band, love the band. He used to say that all the time. Love the band, love the band. And we have to repeat it. So that kind of gave me and Halia, I met my wife in the band in college. That gave us, one, an understanding of the school history. Like, he talked to us about the school. But also, like, a love for the school. It started that for me. Right. And then when I joined the fraternity and I crossed at the school, there's fraternity history specifically about the school.
Yeah.
Which we had to
you
learn.
also learn. Yeah.
And, and then I went to Ohio to shadow the city manager in Cincinnati. On behalf of the school, they made that big video, put it on TV and stuff on behalf of the school. Like, I did a lot of things.
I didn't realize that you had shadowed the city manager in Ohio.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever talked about that. We'll have to sit down and talk about your time there.
Yeah, we should. We should watch.
I
We can watch the video.
You've mentioned before that, like, you're like that is an interest of yours, that you like to be, like, in that role at some point. Oh, okay, my bad. I ain't trying to mess up the money.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't want no parts of that anymore.
Listen, I think you'd be good at it, and I think it would be good for you to do.
It would be fun, but like my problem with it is what I learned on that trip, which is you're in a constant push and pull of trying to make sure that you have enough city council members on your side
to let you do the things you
no to stave off the ones that are inevitably going to want you to be fired. The city council hires the city manager.
Yeah.
And the city council has the ability to fire you, but you have to have a majority of the council to fire you.
Which
so
means,
you basically have to have half or one more than half in your pocket at all times to not be fired. And who wants to live in that turmoil? You see what I'm saying?
I think
I don't really want that type of stress in my life.
Because I think the problem is when everybody is thinking about having a job. I think this is the other problem with politics generally too, right? Because when you're responsible to one person, that's your supervisor, that one person's like idea of the world, their perception of how you're doing, all of that, you can manage one person's perceptions and attend to the things they need you to attend to so that they're happy, and then deal with all the stuff that you recognize needs to be done so that you're happy. And like that's usually a manageable relationship. But you talking about trying to manage 7 people,
right?
And 7 people's perception when they got
live
7
up
different
to their desire.
Yeah.
Right? So this person may
people,
want
different areas, yada.
This person may want you to put more emphasis on the highway system this year with all the funding and finances and budgeting, but you got 2 people over here that are focused on the school system. And you got 2 people over here focused on the police department in the city, and they need you to move this money to this, move this operations to this building, and close that building down.
And some of these things are going to be directly counter to each other. So it's
and you got people fighting. And, it's like to me, not that I'm afraid of it, but what I'm saying is, as I have matured, I really, really, really appreciated that opportunity. If you guys ever want to see it, just go on YouTube and type in Harry Black, Harry, Harry Black, City Manager Cincinnati. And VSU, and then it's a video of me and him, and we, I spent about 3 days there. It's an amazing time. Learned so much.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and so the social life at the HBCU is awesome. You guys should all, if you want, if you're considering college, considering where to go, look at the HBCUs. Look at them. They're great institutions of learning that were built for a purpose. And the reason I have so much respect for HBCUs is they're not just spun up just because somebody said they want a school. They were spun up because we had to. We needed them.
It was blood, sweat, and tears to get those stood up.
Literally, they were birthed out of necessity.
Yeah.
They were birthed because the people that were pioneering them realized the importance of educating people of color, and they knew the only way that they were going to be able to do it at the time was to do it themselves.
Well, and I honestly, I think that probably segues really good, really well into something else I wanted to talk about, right?
Yeah.
So, just to kind of button that up, I do think, having gone to a PWI, I think if I had it to go back and do again, I would have gone to an HBCU. But I think the reason that you go to an HBCU as a black person, and I can't speak for other people, right? But I can say as a black person, there was some information and some ways of thinking that I got later. In watching videos, shout out to people like FD Signifier, and even to a lot of people that we know personally who have gone to HBCUs and have kind of fostered a black excellence sort of way of thinking, where they're like, no, here's why not only should we do it better than everybody else, but here's why we can and here's why we should. That environment, that excellence should be the standard, and here is not only why you come from excellence, but why you should aspire to excellence and all the benefits of doing so. Like, all of those sorts of things you take for granted when you're in an institution that's kind of like, you'll pass and fail on your own merits. And like, they really mean that thing when you go to a PWI. If you pass, it's because you wanted to pass. If you fail, it's because you just didn't pass the way they told you needed to.
Well, to keep it real with
one
you,
way or the other,
at a HBCU, they will let you fail. The only difference is, I think that it is more of a.
But the culture isn't accepting that you're going to fail. They're just not.
Oh, yes, it is.
Well,
it's just the point that I'm making is a lot of the teachers, I think, at the HBCUs. I don't know how many of your teachers specifically were Black American citizen teachers.
Not that many.
Right, where a lot of the teachers at HBCUs are Black, right?
Yeah.
And not all. I had a lot of Indian teachers, I had a lot of white teachers, and a lot of whole lot of African teachers. But like, the thing is, I think that they see a little bit of themselves in you.
Yes.
And then you foster, that's the advice I'm giving our siblings right now,
Yeah.
that are our younger siblings are in college, right? And they all go to different schools or whatever. But actually, two of them are at the same school.
Yeah.
But the advice that I'm giving them is talk to those teachers, because those teachers are looking for students, honestly, like me, that are going to show up to their office and say, hey, I have a C+ in here and I'm trying to make an A. Tell me what I need to do. And I would sit in their office. I had my favorite teacher. He wasn't even, well, yes, he was. He only taught one class, which is like the professionalism class. I was a business major. I used to go to Mr. Hawkins, go to his office and literally debate politics with him for hours. All the time.
But here's the other.
All the time.
The other half that you
actually,
have.
I still do it when I go back to school, believe it or not.
I believe that.
I'm so serious.
But I think there's something that you have that I think everybody needs to be trying to cultivate, okay? So there is a follow-through that I think you have that I think a lot of people lack. And if you're listening to this, the most important thing isn't just going to get that advice, because you should go to the office and say, hey, I'm not where I want to be, or hey, I might be getting an A. What are you looking for? Like, help me. What am I missing? What am I missing? What do you need me to do? But then once they tell you, you have to follow through and you have to do whatever it is they tell you. Yeah. Because I do find that a lot of people will take that first step. They'll go to the office. They'll talk to him, and then they'll tell them, okay, well, listen, this is what you need to do. And they're like, I ain't really got to do all that. I'm guilty, okay? I can tell you I'm guilty of doing this. I will talk to somebody who ostensibly probably knows better than me, and I will hear what they say.
Ostensibly, yeah.
And I'll hear what they say, and I'll be like, but do they really know what they're talking about? It's not even an active thought. It'll just be a thought in the back of my head. And then I'll bump my head a couple of times, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just do what they told me to do. And I'll usually get it right by that. So if you know you're one of those people, try and get your head bumps out the way early so you can go ahead and get it right. Just go ahead and do that for yourself.
Me, it's because I don't like to be wrong. So I ask so that you can give me a succinct list, and I'm not going above and beyond. No, I'm going to do exactly what you said. I'm going to get a 91 in the class, or a 92 in the class. Because a 91 is an A-.
Yeah.
A 92 in the class, which is now an A. And then boom, I'm out. I'm done.
That's all you needed?
Clocked out. And like, when I tell you I'm so serious, all I wanted was an A. Like, I'm not trying to get a 98 in the class, a 97. I don't care.
You just trying to see A's across.
Bro, if I hit, to be honest with you, at one of the semesters I made straight A's and I got an A-.
I remember you being like, that's fine.
I was looking mad though.
You got a B in one class one semester, and you was hot by the
I got all A's and a B in one class. I had a B.
I remember that.
And then the teacher, she like went away. Like she left for like the last 2.5 weeks of school. No, I went to the dean of the college. Like, no.
I remember you making a really big stink about this.
I didn't get that grade changed until the next semester. I had to write another paper.
You're hilarious.
But I got my A.
You're hilarious. But I do think talking about HBCUs and how people kind of saw the need for institutions. I was looking at an interview with this guy named Maj Toure. Shout out to I Never Knew TV. He just does these interviews with people, okay? And he's done like I think 6 or 7 now. He did one with this guy named Yaki Awaken. Was really interesting to me. A lot of the information I got from there was actually really thought-provoking. He did one with this guy named Maj Toure. He's a big Second Amendment libertarian type, right? Ugh. And you're saying but I actually think we need to give some respect to the black libertarians out there because they have some points. They really, really do.
Everybody has points. Wait, I don't think they have no points.
Because I think there's a difference. When you hear libertarian, the person I always think about is Robbie from Rising. Okay? He is like
that's not who I think about.
Who do you think about?
I think about that libertarian presidential debate in 2016, I think it was, where they were arguing that literally they said that you shouldn't have to have a state-issued license to drive a car. The state has no authority to give or take away licenses.
That
was at the Libertarian Party presidential debate.
Here's the thing. That's an interesting argument, and they're probably like the way you say it.
The guy that won the Libertarian candidacy said at that debate, literally, I'm gonna clip this out too.
I'm sure
he said at that debate, I'd like to see some competence when a person gets behind the wheel of a car, and everyone in the crowd booed him.
That is kind of funny. Because to his point, no, actually, we probably should be issuing some sort of licensure to say you can get behind a 3,000-pound missile.
Did you just say probably? Meaning that you think that there's a chance? I was about to say.
I was being facetious.
Yes, you need a license.
Wait, okay. Because I want to caveat that by saying there is a nugget of argument in the middle there that your ability to travel, not in a motor vehicle, maybe in some other kinds of vehicles, has been limited such that it's very difficult for you to travel on foot across state lines anymore. So,
I'm just listening. I'm sorry.
Let me see if I can articulate this right. If you have an unalienable right that is protected in the Constitution to travel, you do have that right. It is protected
to go state to state.
To travel freely. It doesn't specify across state lines. It says
I'm saying not out of the country. You don't have that right. Well, you have to have a passport to do that.
Yes, but that is more to do with the country's laws that you're going to and less to do with our laws. You need a passport to get back here.
Well, you need a passport to exit, too. Because what border can you just walk across?
There are lots of countries that don't have...
I'm talking about America, though, specifically.
You can get on a plane going somewhere else without your passport.
Have you done that? I've never done that. I've traveled to other countries a bunch of times.
Because all the countries you go to require you to have a passport to get in. So when you order your plane ticket, you have to have a passport to go there because they say you need a passport.
No, you have to have a passport at the airport.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, but you need a passport at the airport that you're leaving from because the airport that you're going to requires you to have a passport. Let's say you were going to like Laos or you were going to like Cuba or you're going to somewhere that they don't require you to have a passport. These places that I'm thinking of actually probably require you to have a passport if you're traveling in an airline. But if you take a private jet, you don't necessarily need a passport.
Okay. To the one person in our audience that has a private jet, disregard the rest of this conversation.
Again, the reason that I don't care for a lot of libertarian arguments is because you have to get so far outside of what actual real life looks like right now.
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
To deal with a lot of the things that they're trying to discuss, that it's very abstract, it's very difficult.
I feel like we're jumping.
Yeah, we
are. So let's go back to the original.
Let's get back to all the way.
Finish your point so we can.
Four steps ago. So the point I was trying to make is they have like a nugget of point about the fact that it's so difficult to travel on foot. The only way to travel across state lines at this time is with a motor vehicle for the most part. So if you then create all
I
of
don't
these...
understand that, though. Help me understand that.
Okay.
If I walk from here to Ahoskie...
I'm in Virginia. How are you going to walk to Ahoskie? Where are you going to go that allows you to travel across that state line?
So you're saying because there's no, like, interstate sidewalks? Is that what this is?
Correct. Now, I'm not saying you're saying like
No, I'm not. I'm
in
not
your
trying
mind,
to
you're like,
laugh
this
at
is
that.
a ridiculous argument. It would never hold water, and you're right. What I'm saying is there's enough of a nugget there that they can just argue about the nugget forever, even though the actual point is no, it's crazy. If you're driving a 3,000-pound missile, you need a license. You do. You need a license. Now, there's probably more argument when it comes to like vehicle registration.
So because that's the part that I don't see. This is what. Okay, for those who don't know,
Uh-oh.
libertarians, right?
Yeah.
And you correct me if I'm wrong, but this is my interpretation. Libertarians feel as though the government has basically only the responsibility of military and protecting its citizens, but the government doesn't have the rights that we have given it. They believe that, like, the government doesn't have licensing rights and the rights to zoning laws and all these things, like all of the stuff. Like, they shouldn't be paying for public education, they shouldn't be paying for public roads. We should be doing a lot of this stuff basically person to person, bartering. You know,
yes.
even more so, I've seen some libertarians argue local government, which is more touching its citizens than a federal and a state government. But the problem is, right, when you like, okay, so let's say that you said that you don't believe that thing about the government interstate travel on foot.
Correct. No,
like,
I think the majority of that now.
But the easiest way to poke holes in that, okay, so who would be responsible for putting up the sidewalks?
It would be the government. Again,
like,
here's the. I think their argument is less about, hey, you shouldn't be able to license or require registrations just because, and it's more.
They do say that, yeah.
It's more you shouldn't be able to do it because if I don't agree to the way that you're trying to do it, I have no other options, and now you've basically created a monopoly on violence where like I can't even like opt out of any of your rules and regulations on how things have to be done. I have to agree to them, or I basically die or get locked up and lose.
Have you ever watched Save Cedar?
Yes, I watched.
You've seen the libertarian debates.
Here's the problem. Okay,
that's why I'm laughing, because I'm laughing at those.
And the reason that I think it's funny is because every single person who espouses libertarianism, like in real life,
yeah.
Let me caveat that all of the intellectuals that I've seen espouse libertarianism in real life sound ridiculous. Like they have not thought through the implications of the things they advocate for.
Well, because it's an anarchist type of thinking where it's like you would have to what you would have to do is you would have to dismantle everything, and then you would have to have some type of arbitrary way of. I don't even know how. I don't know how you can have society without society.
No, what happens is they dismantle all of government. They dismantle all of.
But they still want the same services that we receive now.
No, wait. Because what happens is they dismantle everything and then they build it right back because they realize that the only way to efficiently do the majority of these things that there is no individual incentive to do is collective government.
Right. So because who's gonna pick up trash if there's no Department of Sanitation?
Who are you arguing with? We both agree about that. That's why I was that. Okay, so to get back to the original point, I brought up Monterey. Okay, he labels himself as a black libertarian. Okay. The reason that I want to give shout outs to some of the black libertarians versus the libertarians generally is when I listen to Monterey talk about the specific things he's more libertarian about, gun rights and like specific rights and rules when it comes to owning property and being able to protect yourself and things of that nature. Where it comes from is, hey, we've seen the government not only not allow us to do what everybody else does, but actually step in and make it even harder. He means
specifically black people, right?
Yes, specifically black.
Now, I agree with that.
The government has stepped in specifically to make it harder to be a American citizen as a black person, and we have to guard against that. And I have a lot of sympathy for that sort of thinking, which is why I'm a lot more, I think I'm a lot more amenable to people who are really aggressive about their Second Amendment rights. I struggle with that, right? There's a lot of push and pull that I have with where the line between the government doing what it needs to do to protect us and where we have a responsibility to protect ourselves as individual free agents. Like, there's a lot of tension there. So Monterey talks specifically about how, no, what we really need is an educated electorate who has rights to guns. The problem with guns in America, a lot of times, it's not that there are too many guns only, it's that there are too many guns in the hands of uneducated people who, and a lot of our problems societally are not because people have too much freedom. It's because uneducated people
are the main people
are the
exercising
main
all
people
of our freedoms.
exercising the majority of their freedoms.
Yeah.
So
it's
real
the same thing
solution-
with the Republican Party having this giant swath of uneducated voters.
Yes.
Who they basically manipulate into voting for
Into
tax
vote-
cuts for the rich and more wars.
Well, I mean, and that's why Donald Trump is winning. You know, he's winning in the polls right
Winning
now.
ain't even a word. He is annihilating,
You're right.
dominating.
But
in
the
the words
the reason that can happen is because you have a lot of people, and uneducated sometimes isn't even the right descriptor. Is you have people whose the ways of thinking, their kind of pre-thought or pre-considered notions and ideas of how government is supposed to work and what it can and can't do, what it is and is not capable of.
Well, the reason I say uneducated is because
in pre-existing ideas, right? It's all
Yeah,
like stuff that they've heard before.
Yeah, and I'm saying the reason I say uneducated is because a lot of the voters who are voting in the Republican Party are misinformed by right-wing media who sets out. I mean, I think mainstream media also has an agenda. To be honest, left-wing media has an agenda too. But I think right-wing's media, if you look at the polls, there are polls that are conducted of people who have a media diet exclusively of the right, exclusively of mainstream, like the CNNs, NBCs, and then people who have online or left-wing or whatever. Like, there's polls of these. And consistently, every time, the most misinformed voters are people who watch exclusively right-wing or Fox News media.
Well, yeah.
And so the reason I'm saying uneducated is because it's not like they're on Fox News. You're not going to see people digging deep on Newsmax. They're not digging deep into the policy. Who took what amount of money from which industry is now going to get a giant tax cut for that bill. Like, they're not doing that. And
Perfect example is the Clarence Thomas thing. So Fox News had a banner that said Clarence Thomas cleared of all charges. No need for ethics review. Says blah blah blah. That's not actually what any of it said. That's an ongoing fight.
It's so frustrating. Like Tucker
But
Carlson,
they'll just say, hey, this is done deal, and people will see that headline or see that banner and like, oh no, Fox said this isn't a problem, so I guess it's not a problem.
I mean, literally, Tucker Carlson's lawyers in that defamation suit against like Dominion and stuff, they literally said no reasonable person would watch Tucker Carlson and view him as actual news. That's not true because a lot of people watched him and knew that he was doing a real news show with a cry line and a lower third and wearing a suit and on TV every night in prime time, and he's on Fox News channel.
Here's some whataboutism, right? The Democratic Party got into a case and they argued, hey, we don't actually have to be a Democratic entity because we are a political party. We can put whoever we want up.
Yeah, that's what what's that dude Johnson on MSNBC said last time around when Biden won. He said the voters don't pick the nominee.
Yeah, the party.
The Democratic Party picks their own nominee. When Bernie was winning, he said.
Yes.
He's like, so I know all the voters are getting excited about Bernie and everything, but Democratic Party picks their own nominee.
Yeah.
So you guys vote for president, which is general election.
Yeah.
Right. Now, so basically, you're going on TV to say the primaries are all crap.
I guess here's what my frustration is. By that logic, the Democratic Party should not then be allowed to dictate who gets on a debate stage in the general election.
Right.
In my opinion, political parties should not get to pick who gets to be on a debate stage at that point. At that point, the debate stage should be federally protected.
And I also don't think that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party should be picking the debate
I agree
rules
with
and
you.
stuff. Because I feel like it should be a standard rule for both parties. Because what's happening is
both parties, for every party that
for every party. But I'm saying I feel like it's annoying because what they're doing, it's kind of like what you do with your kids. So instead of you opening the freezer and saying, "Hey, which one of these things here you want to eat?" You'll go to your kid and say, "Hey, now you can have this type of cereal for breakfast, or you can have this type of cereal for breakfast." That's literally what the Democrats are doing to us. So they're saying, "Well, you guys can either have Hillary Clinton." Or you could have Joe Biden.
We've talked before. I brought up Irami because he talks about when you're talking about choice, right? There is the form of the choice, and then there's the content of the choice, right? So the form would be, hey, you get to pick between you get to pick a presidential candidate, and then the actual content is you get Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden.
You get this corporate Democrat or this corporate Democrat.
Sure, in form, you get a choice. There are two distinctly different physical human beings.
Right.
But the content is the exact same, so it's not really a choice at that point.
Well, let's be fair. Biden's a lot better than Hillary.
No, and that's actually where I was going to go.
Yeah,
because
okay.
technically speaking, and we can talk about that next. But let me wrap up the thing I was going to say
Is
about
that a lot
Maj
better than
Touré.
fair?
I think it is. We'll
Yeah,
talk
he
about that
pulled
in
us
a
out of
second.
the war, but anyway.
So I brought up Maj Touré, and I brought up I Never Knew TV because he's done a lot of really good interviews. I really suggest anybody who's watching, go check out his interview with Maj, go check out his interview with Judge Joe Brown in particular, because both of them talked about the prison industrial complex and how the way Judge Joe Brown, when he would talk to people he had to sentence to prison about why they were going and what they needed to try and get out of that experience, so it's very different from what I've heard other people say when they're sending people to prison. Usually you get kind of the morality talk of, hey, you need to do your time, you messed up, you need to go and
pay your debt to society.
pay your debt to society, and then you can come back out and be a better person. But Judge Joe Brown would talk about, hey, listen, man, we ain't got enough jobs out here for all y'all anyway. You doing what the system was set up for you to do. So thank you. And the people would be real confused, rightly so, because if you're listening to this, you're probably confused. He's like, why is he thanking criminals for being criminals? Because to his way of thinking, he says that, well, you know, in our economy, we need some people to be losers. We need some number of people, able-bodied, working-age men, to not be in the pool, because otherwise there won't be enough jobs for everybody, or there will be so many people that, you know, the labor won't be worth what it needs to be for people to be able to live off of it. Now, do I agree with this thinking? I don't know. I think there's probably some wiggle room.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, but I think it's a very interesting way of approaching the problem and way of thinking about solutions to that problem, because I think even if me and you don't agree with it, if some number of people who have control in the system are thinking of the system in that way, it makes sense why you can have private prisons. Because some person who's looking at the economy and not at the human suffering that is prison systems is saying, well, you know, we really can't afford to have all of these able-bodied men in the workforce, because then, you know, they're going to be out here trying to work jobs, and we need to keep the economy running some kind of way. So it then makes sense why you would take all of these people out of the out of the economy, out of the running as being working class. I think it has a bunch of downstream consequences that are negative, and honestly, this is the worst possible way to do. If that was your goal, is to take people out of the economy, there are a bunch of much better ways of doing it. Have them volunteering instead of being paid in the economy. Have them doing other things like government jobs. That's kind of what government jobs came from, is because, hey, we need people doing productive things in society, but we don't want the markets and the economy to have to pick up that cost, so we'll pick up the cost as the government.
Well, not just that we don't want, but a lot of government jobs, the private sector won't pick up that cost. It just won't.
The private sector can't pick them up efficiently,
right?
Because I think the problem always, and this
is
why,
and not just efficiently though, but like for some things,
no,
you think for every single thing,
yes,
the private sector would do it. They just don't have
because
to.
Here's the problem. Every single thing the government does is a need. It needs to be done. Somebody needs to administer taxes. Somebody needs to build roads. Somebody needs to take care of the sick and needy and old folks that don't have anybody else to take care of them. Like, all of these are things that are needed in society. So there are ways to make money from them. They're just not good. They're not good for society, and they're probably not good for the people who need those services. So the government says, hey, in order for us to do this without putting in a bunch of extra money so that somebody can take theirs off the top at every different level, you know, until this thing costs $1 bajillion, we'll just take it on, and we'll basically do it with no profit motive, so that we can do it for as little cost as possible to everybody who needs this service. That's the whole reason we have government. That's the only mandate that government really has to do any of the stuff it does. That's why I can't rock with libertarians. We're like, oh, we don't need the FDA and the EPA and the, you know, and the IRS. We don't need any of these entities. I'm like, nah, we really need them, and we need them doing exactly what they're doing. We just need them, or we need them to do the job that we've sent them there to do. We just need them to do it properly. We can't have them getting crony capital, you know, captured by whatever industry they're supposed to be regulating. We can't have them having the
defunded by the Republicans every 2 years. You can't have a Republican president come in like Donald Trump and put people in place that are in place specifically to destroy the department.
Right. And
Betsy DeVos at Education. Ben Carson at Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Yeah.
The guy that was running the
Department of Energy.
No, not that one. The guy that was in charge, the thing that Elizabeth Warren put up.
Oh, the
Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
Yeah.
Literally, that organization got back billions of dollars to defrauded people from banks back to them from the banks, and then Trump comes in and he puts somebody in charge that's literally shutting down investigations.
Gotta love when Wells Fargo gets to get away with stealing people's money over
The
and over
fact
again.
that people still put their money in Wells Fargo is crazy. But Glass House,
if you can hear my voice, please stop banking with Wells Fargo and Bank of America.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, Glass House.
And, listen, I done got rid of both of them.
They've
Don't
been
bank
good
with
to
these
me. I don't
companies. Don't do it. But listen, okay, so I agree. All right, so I if you haven't seen those interviews, check those interviews out. But we mentioned something interesting earlier. Now I'm gonna try and back up and pick it back up. I don't forgot already. We were talking about.
We were going to talk about.
We were talking about libertarians. We were talking about the difference between Hillary Clinton and Biden. So I was thinking the other day, back when Hillary Clinton was running, you voted for Hillary, right?
In the general, not in the primary.
Yes, in the general. Yeah, because we both voted for Bernie in the primary.
I was in college at that point.
So in the general, I voted for Jill Stein.
Yeah, you told me.
Now,
it doesn't matter because Hillary still won the state anyway, so it's not that big a deal.
So why? I want you to tell me why you think I voted for Jill Stein, and then I will tell you why I actually voted for Jill Stein. Because
Hillary's horrible. I didn't want to vote for her.
Okay, that's not why I voted for Jill Stein. Because I didn't think Jill Stein was a very good presidential candidate.
No, I liked Jill Stein. I think Jill Stein brought a lot of issues that Bernie was bringing up.
Correct.
And she tried unsuccessfully to at least moderately drag them back to the forefront of the conversation, where Hillary, similar to Biden, annihilated them.
I agree. But we're not talking about Jill Stein, the advocate, or Jill Stein,
You're talking
the
about the candidate.
We're talking about Jill Stein, the person who would have to do the job of president, and I don't think she would have been able to do it, which is why she was never going to win.
Why'd you vote for her then?
Because
you didn't think that at the time?
I wanted the Green Party to get their 5%. That's why I voted for her. I wanted them to be able to make the debate stage in a year or 4 years or 5 years or whenever, so that they could have real candidates that I would actually think,
yeah,
because that,
and I also think that would
Matthew
make
Ho guy in North Carolina,
yeah, that would make
that guy could run for president, and I think he would be okay.
And I think that would make the Democratic candidates better because the only reason that Hillary Clinton got better throughout the primary is because Bernie pushed her to the left.
Exactly.
Same thing with Biden, because remember, Biden was pretty horrible when he first started. His campaign was going terribly. If y'all all remember, he got like 4th or 5th in Iowa,
and then basically
he changed
dropped out.
Everything about his entire remember he was like, oh yeah, I'm $15 minimum wage, against it. Who's against it? I'm for that thing. Remember he said, somebody asked him about basically Bernie's out, so Medicare for all is gone,
and he was like, no,
he's like, no, I'm gonna introduce what he called the Biden initiative, which is a public option. Have you seen it?
Nope.
I haven't seen it.
It's right there next to college debt forgiveness.
To be honest with you, it's next to $15 minimum wage.
You're probably right.
It's near it. Over there in the corner.
Yeah.
Dusty and covered in cobwebs.
Yep.
But
never to be touched again.
But these are all the things Biden didn't do.
Yeah.
But I am a borderline Biden stan right now, because you got to give Biden credit for stuff he's done. Biden has made, it's just the Democrats are terrible at making their own case. But Biden's done a lot of really good things.
I'm going to be honest, I don't think they're terrible at making
They are.
Okay, actually, you're right.
Because everyone you talk to know all of the great things that Biden has done or tried to do, or do they know all the nonsense that Trump is doing?
I don't think it's about them knowing all the good stuff that Biden has done.
Or tried to do.
I take your point. There are a lot of really good things that Biden has done and tried to do
that aren't mainstream discussions.
Some of them are mainstream discussions, and I don't think he gets enough credit because he finds a way to jack it up right at the finish line. So I'll give you an example, right? So Lena Khan and the
isn't she
NTSB?
That's the
Labor Relations Board?
Native American lady, right? Yes.
I don't know. If
Yeah. She was like an advocate and stuff before she got that job.
Oh, okay.
That's why I say that. But yeah, go ahead.
Yes, her. That is honestly one of the best things Biden has done in his
life. It really is.
Because she has single-handedly been able to turn the entire ship around when it comes to monopolies and when it comes to a lot of the corporate power that's being exercised on our federal government.
Well, before we go forward, the NLRB is the National Labor Relations Board.
Thank you.
This is basically an organization that protects the rights of workers, the rights to unionize at your workplace, and it protects you from things like union busting by your bosses, them retaliating against you, firing you if your workers are trying to get together and make a union.
Yeah.
Amazon has their first couple of unions now. Well, Starbucks.
Not only that, they are also the ones who deal with mergers and acquisitions. So
right, and they stop monopolies.
Live Nation bought I can't remember the company, but basically Live Nation.
Live Nation?
Yeah, it was Live Nation, and they merged with One of them was the people who
Ticketmaster.
Thank you, with Ticketmaster. So one of them was the group that ran the actual ticketing for concerts on the on the act side, and then the other one was the one who ran the venues, who actually said, hey, we're the Hampton Coliseum, we have this many spots open for somebody to come perform, we need people to sell the tickets for these events. And then Ticketmaster would sell tickets to these events at all these different venues, and then you'd have Ticketmaster and you have a bunch of other competitors. Well, basically what Ticketmaster and Live Nation did was they said, okay, all of the Live Nation venues can only use Ticketmaster now, and now Ticketmaster is just jacking up the price with all of these fees and all of this other stuff. Basically, you don't have a choice, because if you want to perform at any Live Nation venue, and they own the majority of venues, well, now you got to deal with the fees, and everybody's complaining about that. Well, the NLRB are the ones who are fighting, in the courts to try and get rid of that merger, because they're like, hey, y'all promised y'all wouldn't do exactly what y'all are doing, which is making a ridiculous profit by basically charging a lot of money. So that's one example. Like, they just came out with a ruling that basically says, hey, listen, if we catch you saying,
I heard about this,
anti-union stuff,
anything,
we're just gonna say the union won, and now y'all gotta negotiate with the union. We're not even gonna keep playing this game, because what Starbucks has been doing is literally
they're just doing union busting, and then they're just pay the fine.
They hire union busting lawyers. They get
and pay them
seminars.
Bro.
They
and they pay them so much money.
And I'm like, by the time you pay all this money to not have a union, you could have just paid these people some more money.
Like a perfect example, Starbucks had this store in Buffalo, New York, where basically they hired these people to literally go to Buffalo. They were paying for these people to live there, paying them a ridiculous, like, hundreds of thousands of dollars as a salary. They're paying them to live there, to drive to work every day. And they would go into this specific Starbucks store. They would have these meetings where they would tell them how horrible unions are. They have all these anti-union posters and leaflets and all types of stuff they're giving out to the workers. If anyone is caught attending a union meeting, they are having their hours cut. They're being laid off. They're being written up so that they can now be fired.
That's crazy.
Because you can't just get fired just because on a random Tuesday.
You out the door. They can't just fire you.
So like they're paying hundreds of like they rehired Howard Schultz, who the board basically retired. He's still on the board, but the board retired him as CEO. And they brought him back because they're like, you used to be really successful at destroying unions, and we've got a bunch of unions starting.
I don't think it was just that. I think they needed somebody who, if he couldn't do it, they need to be able to say, oh, well, that was Howard, it wasn't us. So
he started the company. He founded Starbucks.
But
that's craziness.
That's why they can let him come back and do it, because he can just say, no, this is my company.
Well, it didn't work because they got a lot of unionized stores. And now with this new ruling,
all of their stores about to be unionized because they're gonna get caught again. Yeah, they've already been fined a bunch of times.
Bro, they just pay. It's so annoying. Like, they just pay the fine and then they go right back to union busting.
I think that's because we forgot what fines are for.
So, fines are supposed to hurt. A reason why a ticket is a deterrent for a regular person to speed is because that hurts a regular person.
Right.
But if you're a multi-billion-dollar company and you got a $25,000 fine.
Well, I mean, and I think the other thing is, fines shouldn't just hurt. Fines should be crippling. So, like, you have to make it so
damage your company.
You have to make it so expensive to not play by the rules that playing by the rules is the only reasonable option. And I think we've just forgotten that that's what fines and things of that nature are supposed to be for. So, to your point, I think that there are a lot of things like the NLRB, like a lot of Biden's initiatives when it comes to I can't even say the border, because that's been an unmitigated disaster. But he's had a lot of, like, fairly good initiatives. He's made a lot of fairly positive changes. And I really think that I'm struggling because Biden the presidential candidate, is not going to get it done. Like, the fact that he keeps talking about his house fire while he's in Maui means to me that he is no longer fit to be president, because you should just know better. Mm-hmm. Like, you should just understand that is a really bad look, especially after we all told you. So the first time you tell that story and it shows up on the news, somebody in your team should be like, hey, bro, I'm really sorry. You can't tell that story ever again. Like, matter of fact, for the rest of the time you're president, don't talk about that house fire no more. Don't even mention it.
You talking about Biden?
Yes.
You doing that lie?
It's not a lie. He talks about when his house almost caught on fire.
And no, his house. No, it did catch on fire, but I don't know if you. So basically,
Yeah,
what happens is
educate me. Help me.
Biden went down to Hawaii after those gigantic, ridiculous fires,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Hey, you know, I had a similar experience where my house caught on fire and my house almost burned down, and you know, I almost lost.
Yes.
I guess he said his wife or whatever.
No, he almost lost his cat and his Corvette. That's what.
Yeah, that's what he said in his Corvette. Yeah. Well, you know what they're gonna do. They went back to when the fire actually happened,
Of course.
and they read the report and they called the fire department.
So what you're
the
saying
fire
is
department
they
literally
did journalism.
said, and I quote, "The fire was like not a major fire.
Again,
like
they
a
just-
piece of his kitchen caught on fire, and then they came and they put it out.
Again,
That was it.
they did journalism because if you're the president, one, you should just
Bro, you're gonna get caught, man. Like,
You're talking about it because you are thinking of it like, oh, he lied about this thing. No, he's old.
he is old.
He's old.
Granddad's
So
old.
No. Granddad don't have dementia, okay? This man can't remember. When he talks, this is the reason why I don't think Biden could ever win a general election again, because he's going to get up on a debate stage, and I don't think he's going to be able to last a whole hour and be cogent, okay? You see Mitch McConnell get up and just
freeze multiple times now.
like he don't know where he's at or
But
what's
to
going
be honest,
on.
but that's the thing though, Elliot. If Mitch McConnell runs for re-election, Mitch McConnell's gonna win. And you say Biden
Again,
can't win.
again,
But if you
it's
put
not about-
Biden against
But
Trump,
this is-
who's up there saying the crazy stuff that he's saying right now,
I
also
think-
taking L's after L in these court cases.
I agree with you.
I don't think that Biden's gonna
I
lose.
agree
They're
with you.
all old.
Here's the
They're
problem.
all dinosaurs.
Here's the problem, okay? You're saying they're all old. But if you put Trump in a room with Dianne Feinstein, Mitch McConnell, and Joe Biden, Trump is going to be the most cogent and understandable person in that room.
He's gonna be the
He is
most
go-
mentally acute.
No.
But
He
is he
is
going
going
to
to
be
be the
saying things that are going to make the majority? Elliot, have you seen the 60%, 61% of the country now say that Donald Trump committed a major crime?
Again, I hear what you're saying.
So
You
I-
don't hear what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is, I'm afraid that Biden is going to lose. Okay, not because Trump is so bad, but because Biden's so bad.
Yes.
I am afraid Biden's going to lose. But I genuinely believe there's going to be enough people in this country like me that are going to say, like, let's say Trump wins the primary today.
Yeah.
And then the media onslaught of he's a criminal. They're going to shove that down everyone. I do think there's going to be enough people that are going to say, I am not voting for Biden. I'm voting against Trump. I
Here's
do
the
believe
problem.
that can happen.
No, but here's the
But
problem.
I'm very afraid
okay?
Biden's going to lose.
I agree with you. And the problem that I have is we're not talking about Biden as a person who is not qualified for the job of president anymore. Okay? We're talking about Biden, the idea of somebody who isn't Donald Trump, the felon. So, like, when you're trying to have this
believe Joe
conversation,
Biden is running again.
I mean, I can't,
It's like-
because the Democratic Party has stopped trying to be an institution for political power for the people, or even for the people they're supposed to represent. And
They're really just trying to hold
it's a
power for the
people
the
that
people
are in
that have
charge
the
right
power.
there. And there was something that was said a few years ago.
That's how I
not a
felt
few
when
years
Nancy
ago, a few
Pelosi
months
stepped
ago.
down.
There was something that was said a few months ago that has kind of stuck with me and has been bothering me ever since. So someone mentioned that there was a whole plan of succession after Obama, where basically Obama had all of these plans of things that were going to happen when Hillary won, because there was no way she was going to lose to Trump. So things like UFO disclosure was supposed to happen under Hillary. Things like making
What was supposed to happen? UFO disclosure?
UFO disclosure. So, well,
You think she would have did that? I don't.
I have it from people whose opinions I at least respect, that there was a whole institutional plan where Hillary Clinton was going to start kind of making public a lot of the knowledge we have about UAPs, UFOs, because the sightings were ticking up at that time. So the problem that we have right now is there's been a pressure cooker under Trump, because all of this stuff went back underground when Trump took office, because nobody trusted him to be able to handle it like an adult. Probably a reasonable fear. But
Probably.
but
Did he
all of
handle
these-
anything like an
all
adult?
of these programs and all of these things that were supposed to be, kind of taken care of when Hillary got in office just went away. So now nobody's accountable, and now everything is way out of whack, and nobody can figure out why things are so bad. But it's because a whole lot of stuff was managed, more or less, between Bush years and Clinton years and Obama years, that once under Trump, it just all went way out of whack. And then you add COVID on top of that and all the other stuff. So I really worry that we're at a crossroads when it comes to Biden and Trump, where people, if you vote for Joe Biden, myself included, if you're voting for Joe Biden, you are not voting for a functional presidential candidate. You are voting for the ideals of not voting a criminal into office.
If you vote for Donald Trump, you are not voting for a feasible presidential candidate. You are voting for a racist who is going to go in and he's going to give you the vibes that you like.
Or you're voting for the principle of I cannot elect a person who is not physically capable of being in the office.
So basically what we're trying to say is
it's all bad.
Both options suck.
Listen, okay? The best thing that could happen is Trump's court case actually lands him in federal prison and he is unable to actually run a campaign, and Biden finally gets forcibly retired by the party or his family or somebody who loves him, even if it's his son Hunter right before he goes to prison. Like, somebody finally gets this man to say, hey, I'm not going to run again. Like, those two people getting moved out of the way, then we got a real race on our hands. And, like, even if we get a bad president, even if it's, Vivek or, one of these other Democrats who nobody wants to run, like Gavin Newsom or something like that, like, at least it will be a person who is physically and mentally capable of doing the job, even if they're going to do a bad job because I disagree with their policies and politics. Like, they would be physically and mentally capable of doing the job. And being in a world where we have two people that I don't believe are either physically and mentally capable or spiritually and morally capable, like, I don't want to have to make the choice between a physically incapable or a morally incapable agent being the president of the United States. Those don't sound like very good options to me. So, listen, this has been the Pensive Brother Podcast. We're going to end it right there. I'm Elliot.
Oh, sorry. We're going to try that again. My bad. I was, distracted and my wife is...
You should be ashamed.
I'm sorry. I was listening to you, but you went so fast. You went too fast. Do it again. Do it again.
This has been the Pensive Brothers Podcast. I'm Elliot.
This is Aaron.
And we are out. Season 2.